It'll be my privilege to welcome you and introduce today's guest speaker. Caitlin Jones, when she was 10 years old, opened a juice bar in her mother's wheatgrass greenhouse, and she wrote an advertisement in her mom's monthly newsletter to advertise it. Later, when she was in college, she co-founded a small business with her brother, and that was intended to help her get through college, the money from that. It did that and then some. She eventually graduated from Brigham Young University with a business management degree. And since then, they have diversified to numerous products and multiple businesses, both startups as well as the acquisition of another existing business, which she relocated from Arizona to Utah. Sales for Living Whole Foods Incorporated are over $7 million per year. We are delighted to have Caitlin here to tell her story. Please welcome Caitlin Jones.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Wow, I get so nervous at presentations like this, but I am very excited to be at Snow College. I've never been here before. I hear that your enrollment is up, and that's really exciting, eh? I am here to tell you about how much I love business. I am so passionate about business, and sometimes I really don't even know why. It's just the most exciting thing ever. Of course, these weeks leading up to this presentation, I had lots of nerves, and I was thinking about it a lot at night when I was going to sleep, and I had this crazy dream that Gwen Stefani from No Doubt came, and she sang this beautiful introduction song to introduce me to you guys. And unfortunately, she couldn't be here today to do that, but thank you so much, Professor Christensen, for your introduction. That was great in her place. You did sing, yes, it was beautiful. And my sister-in-law threatened to turn on Downton Abbey up here if I'm too boring, so if anybody gets bored, you can come up and watch it with her. She says you have free Wi-Fi here, so. Okay, well, I guess I'll just start. They said that you guys like to hear about stories, so I'll tell you my story. It was, I look at you guys and I'm taken back. I went to college at Rick's, BYU, Idaho, and now BYU, Idaho. And I sat in so many classes just like this with so many passionate professors that were entrepreneurs at one point in their life, and they just put all that aside and came and taught us, and they were the most amazing professors ever. And so my story really begins kind of where you guys are right now. I mean, I had passion for business. It went way back into my youth. Like he was saying, I had this juice bar in my mom's greenhouse that I'll tell you a little bit about. And I did lemonade stands, of course, but they were elaborate. They were like, with my neighborhood friend Natalie, we would do dog shows and carnivals to go along with it. And people would come, and we were just always trying to make money. I don't know why, though, because we weren't really that excited about money. We just loved the idea of making something that somebody else wanted, or I don't know exactly what it was. But and then when I was about 10 years old, my mom moved to Salt Lake, and she opened a wheatgrass growing business. And if you don't know what wheatgrass is, it's just wheat that grows into grass about 7 inches tall, and then you cut it down and you juice it and you drink it. It's like drinking a lawnmower cocktail or something. And so in her greenhouse, I set up a little juice bar. She had a newsletter that she would send out every month, so I wrote a little ad, and then I was gone during the week. Back up to Midway is where I grew up, and basically, I wouldn't be there, and it was actually probably, it didn't gross a lot of money, but it was the most profitable because I wasn't there to run it. I didn't have to do anything. She grew the grass, she provided the juicer, and people came and they juiced their own juice and paid us $1, and then when I came on the weekends, I just collected the money, and it was closed, so I just went out and did fun things with it. So that was probably the most successful business of my life, and I wish I could replicate that today. I'm trying, actually, but not having to be actually at work would be awesome. But so it kind of started out with that, and I just knew that I really loved business. And then for a while, I forgot about it. And I was in high school, and I had a really passionate economics teacher, and it just re-excited that sort of businessy sort of side of me. And then I went to college and went to Rick's, and I decided to study business. And I went to a business club, and I joined an organization. Well, they were thinking about at that time starting Students in Free Enterprise. I'm not sure if you have a chapter here, but they were going to start it, and so I got with the professor that was doing it, and it just was so much fun. And I didn't have a job at the time. I was just living off parents and just kind of high school job money that I had and everything. And I stayed there for a while, and then I came down to BYU to finish my degree after that. So when I came down to BYU, I moved into my brother's house, and with my sister-in-law and my niece. She was like 3 at the time, I think, and she's here today. But I moved into their house, and my brother's like, hey, we should start a business. And I said, okay, that sounds like a great idea. I had tried to get jobs everywhere. Like I thought, oh, if I have an associate's degree in business, I will definitely be able to get a really cool job. So I applied at like the health food store to be a produce manager, and they turned me down. But I ended up getting a janitorial job at BYU. That was great. So it was 4:30 in the morning. It wasn't so great, but so I got this job, and then my brother said, well, you know, when Mom was running that wheatgrass business, she had she built this little kit where people could grow the wheatgrass at home. She advertised it in Prevention Magazine, and we sold a couple. But now this internet, it's just going crazy, and I think if we put this on the internet, that we'll actually do something really cool. So maybe we could just have a few $100 of spending money every month, and you could pay for the rest of your college. So basically he, you know, my mom was kind of in the picture. She helped us a little bit, but she was actually living in Israel at the time, so we corresponded with her and got some supplier information and everything. And then I built this crazy, ugly website. You can go on the Wayback Machine on the internet, the web archive, and you can look. If you go back to, I think it's 1999, it has a picture of our website, and it was pretty horrible. But basically, I never advanced my slide, the story. Basically, we just kind of got together some ideas, and we put up the website. We didn't even buy anything, and he tried some of his little marketing things, and all of a sudden we sold a wheatgrass kit. And it wasn't just the basic wheatgrass kit, it was the deluxe one with all the seeds and the soil, and basically what we sell is dirt, seed, we sell worms, we sell crazy, just dirt and seed basically is what it comes down to in crazy configurations. But so we had this deluxe kit that sold, and we're like, uh-oh, we got to get the stuff for this kit. This is in his garage, so we drove to all the suppliers, we picked up all the stuff, and we assembled it, and it shipped to Canada. Well, it turns out that you can't just ship unmarked seed and soil to Canada, and so it came right back to us, and it was like the most horrible start to our fancy business, but it worked out. It worked out good, because then we started getting more orders, and we got that one back, but then even to this day, we still have all these anxieties about shipping stuff to Canada. But we're finally doing it, and we're able to. There's like all these regulations. Okay, if it's under a pound, you can ship it. If it has if you put it in grams, all these things. But we finally got in business, and we were in my brother's garage, and we just started running things. I started working for a company that he kind of co-founded with some people, which was about link trading, and I started learning a little bit of internet marketing, and I opened a bank account for our business and everything, and then we started to grow, and things got a little bigger, and so he's a business guy, so I mean it worked out perfect. He's amazing, but he had a toner business in Provo, and we decided, okay, he has an open room there, we'll move the business into there. It was a tiny little room, and we loaded up all the wheat, bags of 50-pound wheat on one side, and then we had one computer there, and we started working. And then about that time, it was about time for me I was 21, and I wanted to go on a mission. And so my mom, meanwhile, had come back from Israel. I said, can you run this business while I'm gone? It wasn't very big at the time. It was maybe 2 orders a week or something like that. Or 3 maybe, I don't know. And so she did. She learned the computer. She was 62 years old, and it was basically impossible to teach her how to process an order online, but she did it. And then I went on a mission, and while I was gone, it was able to actually pay for everything. It paid for the monthly fee, or the monthly, things for your food and stuff. And so then she, when I came back, she had hired one employee, and that employee actually stayed with us for like another 10 years. But he would kind of pack the orders. And when I got back, it just started to grow. And then we decided to move to a building. And then Parker said, hey, this means now we're a real business. So we hit some milestones along the way, and I wanted to kind of talk about those, because every time that we'd hit one, Parker would say, now we're a real business. And it never really felt like we really were a real business, because he kept saying that. But so some of those milestones, I don't know if it's interesting to you or not, but I'll just kind of tell you. So we moved into our own building. It was about 1,200 square feet, and we were just plugging along. When we hit $5,000 a month in sales, we're like, yeah, this is really good. And this is probably about what the demand for wheatgrass is. I mean, wheatgrass, you just don't think there's much demand for it. But it's not very good. I don't know. Has anybody tasted wheatgrass before? Yeah, it's not too great. Some people really like it. I don't know. I don't particularly like it, but it's definitely my lifeblood right now. But anyway, so we moved into this building, and one of our kind of competitors, they weren't really a competitor, but they were they sold sprouting seed, and we kind of had dabbled in sprouting seed, but they sold it to Whole Foods and Wild Oats at the time, and a bunch of other little smaller health food stores like Good Earth and Provo, those type of stores all over the nation. They sold little packets of sprouting seed, and they contacted us and said, we're getting old and want to retire, and would you guys be interested in buying us? And we're like, well, yeah, that sounds really interesting. So we did it. We bought this little sprouting business, and I moved to Arizona for a month, and we loaded up this big semi truck full of everything that they had. They taught me what to do, all these things, and then we drove it back and we unloaded it, and we realized we didn't really have enough space, and so we moved into another building, and that really just started our exponential growth because it just widened our product base out so much. And of course, along the way, we had lots of little nuggets of just things that happened. Like we opened another website, wheatgrasskits.com was our main one where we sold the wheatgrass kits. We opened herbkits.com where you grow these little culinary herbs indoors, and kind of our product just became, okay, we're going to grow stuff indoors. What can you do? You can do mushrooms, you can do trees, you can do tomatoes, all these different things you can grow indoors. And so we just kind of expanded that out. And so these herb kits, the Wall Street Journal all of a sudden just picked up on them and said, hey, this is a cool little herb kit you can grow at your house. And just that one little article in the Wall Street Journal caused that line to just kind of take off. And so all these really good things just happened. And I attribute that to just when you're doing something, opportunities will just come, and you don't, it's not something that you're really seeking, but they just drop in your lap, sort of. And that's really awesome about business, is that people are always looking to sell you something, but sometimes they're looking to give you these little golden nuggets. So basically, Parker, some of the milestones that we hit along the way is we finally got a forklift, and when we got this forklift, it could barely lift like 2,000 pounds. It would like tip over. When we got wheat on pallets, and we used to have to unload it by hand, 50-pound bags, and so we got this forklift in this picture, and that's my husband actually there driving it. He wasn't my husband at the time, but that's another crazy thing about business is you meet really cool people. And anyway, so he's driving the forklift on the day that we got it, and Parker was like, now we are a real business. We have a forklift. And it was dangerous, though, as can be. It like almost tipped over all the time. And anyway, and then the first acquisition I have up there about the handy pantry, he said, okay, now we're a real business. Now that we've merged with somebody else. And then finally, we got to a point where we were just growing so much that we built a building. And he said, okay, now we're a real business. And everybody by this time had caught on and said, no, we're a real business because we have a boy and a girl bathroom. And then everybody was, no, it's because we have a photograph studio now. We can take our own pictures. And it just caught on. And so we still, to this day, every time some milestone comes along, we say, okay, now we can call ourselves a business. But so basically, I wanted to just talk a little bit about why we think we have this success. So we always have jokes about that too. Like, I always say that it's because of Parker, because he is, I've heard that he spoke here a couple years ago or something, but he is our marketing guy. And really marketing is where it's all at. You got to get the people to buy the stuff. So he does that, and I always attribute it to that. The warehouse, they think it's that if they build it, everybody will come. That if they build 100 wheatgrass kits, then that many will sell, because it always seems to run out if they build it. And then my mom is actually another one of our things that we always say, is because she is like on the edge of the health nut fringe. She's like a raw food vegan. She just wants to do everything healthy for her body. And so anything that she does, we immediately research it and try to sell it, because it's like whatever she does, it will sell, is kind of what we've figured out. So basically with all this kind of story stuff, we expanded to about $7 million a year in sales. And right now kind of my story is that I got married to that guy, and he's right there. And I've had 3 kids, and now I'm 32 years old, and it's so crazy. I've been thinking all week, okay, I'm going to be presenting to people that I used to be. I was just that 10 years ago. I was just in your seat, and it feels like so fast. I still feel like I'm so inexperienced, and when they were telling me some of the speakers that have come to you, I'm like, oh, I can't compare to those guys. But hopefully what I can talk about today is maybe just a little bit, share that enthusiasm that I have, that maybe that you guys could walk out of here and do something in a weekend. You could do something right now, and maybe it's not exactly business, and that's kind of what I wanted to start out talking about in my second part of my presentation, is that that whatever it is that you're doing in your life, I think it relates to business. No, because it's like a lens that I see things through. But let's say that, for example, you wanted to raise a family. So I'm raising my family right now, and I see it. It's a lot like a business. You have incoming money, outgoing money. You have your little employees kind of that you need to kind of run the household. You have bills that you have to pay, and all these things that you have to do, and it's still kind of like a business, and you have to have enthusiasm for it to succeed. If you want to be a teacher, you have people that are out there, your students that are buying your product, that that you're out there producing something of worth to them. If you want to be a doctor, most likely you're going to want to own your own practice, so that so that business can be really, and it's a made-up statistic, but I think 98% of things that we do have to do with business, basically. I don't know, because any product that you want, or there's some sort of business behind it. And so it's just, that's why I think it's so exciting, is because whatever aspect you are in your life, you can do that. So so I have this story. So basically we're in this plant business. We sell seeds to grow your own stuff. We sell herb seed, mushroom, spores, anything you can imagine to grow your own garden seed kind of things. It all started with that wheatgrass, but basically the story is about a Christmas tree. So it used to be that when I lived with my mom growing up, we would go out and get a Christmas tree. And one year she decided that if we cut down we had a cut Christmas tree, that she could get it to grow back. She was absolutely convinced that this Christmas tree would sprout. And if you know my mom, that's typical of the kind of what she would think. But she thought if we just hoped and prayed that this Christmas tree would grow, that we would have we could plant it in our yard after Christmas. So we kind of waited and we watched it. We watched to see if like sprouts would come out of the branches and stuff. And it turned out that it just started to die, and it was not super exciting. But then we basically just we had to throw it away. Well, I actually read that there are certain ways you can cut a tree that it will grow, but just a typical Christmas tree will not grow without roots, without starting from a seed, in your ground. And so she taught us this lesson. Well, I think that plants are just absolutely amazing, and they come from this little teeny tiny seed, like a mustard seed is so tiny, or a wheat seed, and it grows up into this beautiful plant. There's this crazy book out there that's called The Secret Life of Plants. It says that plants are somewhat intelligent. Like if you have a garden and you walk barefoot by a plant, it can actually sense the nutrients that you need and try to pull those from the soil, which I think is pretty crazy, but you'll definitely catch me walking in my garden barefoot, because I think that's just so cool to see plants do that. So I wanted to kind of compare your business, or whatever that you want to do with your life, your passions, to the plant kingdom, I guess, is the way I put it. Basically, what was that cut tree missing that my mom had? It was missing roots, right? And it was missing the original seed that it grew from, that it drew all those nutrients from. You guys right now are the seed, is what I wanted to kind of convey to you. You guys are the seed, and your passions and your enthusiasm for life and all the experiences that you're having are the roots. And actually, you guys are not seeds now. I think that you're more like flowering plants. My little baby right there, she's still in seed phase, or I don't know, maybe she's a sprout, I guess. I don't know. But she's still kind of, learning and stuff. But now that you're in college, this is like the perfect window that you can imagine for starting your life. I heard a talk once where this guy was saying, okay, from the time you're about 17 years old until you're about 25 to 30, that is the time that you set your entire life up. And if you can get things set then you can just have a wonderful life. And I really thought a lot about that, because if you can right now get started with some things like learning all the skills that you need, finding the right companionships and relationships, then you're just going to have a wonderful time in life. And so right now you're basically at this perfect window. And I wanted to talk about three things in that, where you're forging your relationships, you're establishing your roots, and you're planning your trip for the rest of your life. And of course, you can change, you don't have to plan everything right now, but that would stress me out. But you can definitely start right now. And so one of these things was establishing your roots. Okay, so you're in college right now, and it's just the most exciting place. You have these professors that care so much about you, and you have all these opportunities, and you should definitely just grab those opportunities as much as you can. It really is, it's like, basically, my daughter summed it up the other day. I asked her, I said, Victory, that's her name, she's 4, and I said, what's in your heart to do for the rest of your life? And she said, have fun. And I was like, what? From a 4-year-old? That is so true. I don't have fun sometimes. But she always is so good at having fun. She runs around the house and screams and has fun. And I just love that whatever you do, whatever you decide, make sure that it's something that you really have passions for and that you love. And of course, you've heard these things a million times, I know. But just to reiterate those things for you. Okay. Let's see. Make sure that you have everything where your roots are wrapped around the right things that you love. Okay, then the forging relationships part. In business, we talk a lot about networking and how important it is to network and get to know people. And I was thinking back over all the networking that I've done, and a lot of people I don't really keep super good contact with, a lot of my professors, but I do occasionally, like every few years or so. But really what I got from those relationships was not I can sell you something later, but it was the lessons that they taught me and the enthusiasm that they shared with me. It was just amazing. Like, I just think about the things that they did with their life and how exciting they were. And so when you're networking with people, try to find those things that they have to offer you. Right now, it's really cool. At Wheatgrass, at Living Whole Foods, at our warehouse, we have tons of friends and family. Mary is our HR person, basically, and she hires all her friends, and it's the best. It's been the best hiring policy that we've had. No, but my mom works there, and then my husband worked there, and then his mom worked there, and then my brother works there, and I have 3 sister-in-laws that work there. And so when I take kids into work, it's like everybody, it's just the most wonderful thing. And then our family has kind of grown from that. And those relationships, even relationships in business can be so rewarding, and we've hired lots of families, and we've just become this big family, and it's one of the most amazing parts about business is that you are out every day, you get to meet people, you get to see people, do things. Okay, the next section on this last part finally is to plan your trip. So with this, I wanted to talk to you about your mission statement. Of course, a lot of you, I'm sure your teachers are having you write mission statements and thinking a lot about that. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my experience with my mission statement, how it's changed over the years. So when I first started my business, I told you before, it was like I wanted to pay for my college because I couldn't really get a very good paying job. And so I wanted something that I'd be kind of self-employed, and I loved the idea of business, and so I did that. And then later, as I started to, about the time when we were about half the size we are now, I thought, well, what do I want to, now that it's actually doing something, what do I want to do with this? I want to be able to have a family, and I want to be able to provide for them and make sure we have a nice place to live and that kind of stuff. So that was my motivation. And then at one point I got into this crazy, I'm a vegetarian, vegan thing, so I was like, I want to tell the world about health food, and I want, not for very long though. I'm not very big into that, but anyway, I like telling the world about that kind of stuff. But anyway, I went through that phase where that was my mission statement. And most recently, this is kind of, I wanted to share this with you because it's my most recent sort of discovery, and it could be way down your road, it could be right away, but there's this thing called early retirement. Has anybody ever heard of that? And man, I am so obsessed about it. I swear people around me probably think that, I don't know, at least my husband probably thinks. Anyway, he's kind of excited about it too. But the idea is that you can create something now that would allow you to retire early. There's a bunch of blogs about it and stuff like that. Some people retire when they're like 30 years old. And by retiring, I don't mean playing golf and like going out and doing fun things, but I mean like retiring and getting to do whatever you want, exciting things. Maybe you're still making money, like some of the bloggers, they make money on their blogs, or they do construction projects, or they do fun things with their life, but they raise their own kids. They are retired, they take jobs when they want to, and they kind of work from home. And to some people that doesn't sound exciting at all, and at first it didn't to me, like working from home, But just gradually, like because I've had kids, I've been able to kind of move home and work remotely and stuff like that, and had a little bit of freedom. And having your own business is actually very close to the same feeling of retiring early, because you're in control of your own schedule and those type of things. And whatever you decide that you're going to do, if you're going to do graphic design, or you're going to do you're going to cut hair, you're going to be a doctor, you can always, you can have your own business doing this type of thing. And it doesn't have to be this big corporate thing, but it's also very exciting to work for corporate things too. I've had dreams of doing that sort of thing. But the idea is that at some point you can save enough of your money that you can retire early. And I just love that idea. And so that's kind of where my focus has been. So throughout your life, you're during this window, you can set yourself up for whatever these desires that your heart has for you. If you want to be, and another part of my dream has always been to someday be a professor, or someday share back some of that enthusiasm that my professors gave with me. It's amazing. Now, the problem is that sometimes you have these motivations, and then all of a sudden they do not motivate you enough to get you out of bed, or enough to do what you need to do. You have the motivations, but they're not enough. So I thought back through when I was in classes like yours, and I tried to pull through my notes and get all the things that I remembered that people told me to do when I was your age to sort of get yourself out of those slumps, like motivation things. So I could try to demonstrate them. I don't know. Should I do that? No, I don't know. But there's all these, like one of them was that every morning or whenever you're feeling in a slump, that you can just shout yes, 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 yes 10 times and just go like crazy like that and just shout yes, yes, yes. And all of a sudden your blood's pumping and you're excited about life again. Okay, so that's a pretty easy one. Another one is that you can set a time. Okay, so from 8 to 5 every day, this was one of my professors told me this. If you will work as hard as you can from 8 to 5 every day and not worry about the other hours, you will be able to accomplish more than anybody you can imagine. And his point was kind of saying, okay, there's people that are working from 8 to 5, but they're not really focused. They're kind of checking their Facebook and stuff while they're working. And then there's people that are working from 8 to 5 and they're really focused, and they don't have to go home at night and spend another 12 hours working or whatever. And that was his theory. And I think I got that a little bit when I was going to school, is that if I studied and I went to school from 8 to 5 and then the rest of it was social time and all that stuff, that I could get it done, that you can get it done in that amount of time. Another guy, I remember this teenager, or like not teenager, he was in college, I guess, but he said, this is what I do. He said, I get up early every day and I work hard, except for one day during the week. I sleep in as late as I possibly can until my head hurts. And so that he knew that he had this sleep-in time that ahead of him, and so he kind of would motivate himself with that. And when you have kids, though, this won't work. I've tried this one. Even my husband will offer to let me sleep in, but then all of a sudden they come in, they rip off your covers, they jump on you, and they don't mean to, but they just pull you out of bed, and you don't want. So that doesn't work for long, but it works right now. Another one that I heard was, if you get a folder full of all the motivating stories or memes or anything that you really love, and anytime you get just so disappointed and down in the dumps, you can just pull that folder out and read the stories, and it'll help motivate you again. Another one that I really love myself is Dr. Pepper, but don't use that very often. Okay, you don't want to build up a caffeine resistance to where it doesn't work. So, no, I don't know. But maybe don't use that one at all. That's not very good advice. But just know it's there if you need it. Like if you're driving late at night, okay, that's a good time. Okay, so there was this yes, yes, yes. That was a good one. Okay, now on to kind of the meat of what I do every day, like what some things you could actually do. And I want to go back to the plant analogies for this. So a couple weeks ago in my hometown of Mapleton, we had a parade of gardens. And my husband and I rode our bikes with our kids, and we rode around to these gardens. My husband and I, we don't know how to garden at all, surprisingly. Like we can indoor garden with the sprouts and the wheatgrass and stuff. But we had a garden at our old house, and we would get like one tomato, we just couldn't get it to work. And so we thought, we really love plants, though. We just are obsessed with plants. So that's what we eat. We eat plants. That's all we do. So we wanted to see what other people were doing. So we went around to these gardens, and it was really cool. Like there was this guy who had this 1-acre garden, and he had all these things. He was showing us how they keep the deer out, how they can harvest spinach during the winter and all these things. And then there was this cool tomato plant, and he said that this year it would yield 60 to 70 pounds of tomatoes. And he's like, I had this tomato plant growing all these years, and it never would yield tomatoes like this until we got bees. And so they had bees that would pollinate, and now it yields like amazing tomatoes. And then not long after that, I heard a story about this new thing called high performance agriculture, or gardening, where they know exactly what a plant's genetic potential is, and they can give it all the nutrients like compost tea, organic stuff, to get it to its full potential. And they are finding that tomatoes can yield 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 pounds of fruit per tomato plant. So there's this crazy analogy that I wanted to draw about the plant kingdom in business, is that if you know exactly what to do in business, then it is literally, my brother always says, it's like printing money, because you just follow, once you get one way to do it down, you just have your money printing machine out, and you plug in what it is that you did before, and then it doesn't always happen that way. After a while, there's the natural business cycle, and then you start getting competitors, and then you die. But basically, my point is that if you can figure out how to garden in the business industry, then it really is simple, and it I don't know, it goes back to that, if you can master one language, then you can master them all fairly easy quickly after that. If you can master one business principle, then after that you can basically do anything. Okay, so let's see. So kind of what I wanted to do was talk a little bit about the research side of starting a business. The internet is the most interesting thing that you can possibly imagine. When you put the internet, it puts buyers and sellers together more effectively than any other time in history. And so you have this potential where anybody can start a business. You can, in one weekend, put up a page and just test the market and just see if anybody would even want to buy the product that you have, and not even make the product. It's like crazy. So there's things like, there's this one website called Unbounce, where you can generate a page and you can send traffic to it, and then people will it's just basically testing the market. And maybe some of you have experienced this. Like a while back, on Facebook or something, there was a little ad that popped up, and it said paleo wraps, which are these little coconut made of coconut tortillas that are supposedly good for the paleo diet. And I don't know, I never click on anything, but I clicked on this and I signed up to hear it, but they weren't even selling them in stores yet. And they just were kind of gauging interest to see what people would like. And so I signed up for it, and then they would send me updates. And I don't even care about, I didn't do the paleo diet or anything, but it was just interesting because they were vegan, that there was these tortillas that you could use in place of gluten. They were gluten-free and everything. And so, but anyway, the point is that you guys can go out and research. So I wanted to show you a couple little tools, and maybe you've seen these before, but this is kind of what I do when I'm looking at a new product line. We just recently bought another company that sells artificial flowers, and that might sound funny because it doesn't have anything to do with what we do right now. But what happened was, Parker said, we need to get in some artificial, that's my partner, we need to get in some artificial wheatgrass, because we have all these people looking for wheatgrass, and we need the fake stuff so that they can decorate their hotels and whatever with it. So we got in this artificial grass, and it was selling really well, and it turned out that the company that was selling it to us was going out of business. So we basically made a kind of an offer, and they accepted, and it seems so crazy, oh, they bought a business, but it's really just a matter of, it was an email. It was like, well, we'd be interested. What are you asking, or that sort of thing. So we ended up buying this artificial business. And so up here on the screen, I have this, I did a keyword search for a real touch flower. And a real touch flower is, we sell like a rose and all kinds of flowers, anything you can imagine, a calla lily, and they really feel like they're real if you touch them, and if you look at them, they look fairly real. So I was just doing the research for this phrase, real touch flowers, so that if you get an AdWord account on Google, you can go and type in, up there, I typed in over on the side here, real touch flower, and it says over here, okay, we get 4 clicks per day on this keyword, one keyword, okay, 4 clicks per day, which isn't very much. They say that on the internet you need about 50 visitors to get 1 order. So a 2% conversion rate. So obviously out of 4 clicks, we're not going to get an order, but if we extrapolate that keyword out to say 10,000 keywords. We do real touch flower, we do soft touch flower, we do real touch rose, and all these different things, and we try to build up that base of clicks coming into our website. Then we can, and it tells you there, okay, that's going to cost us 8 cents a click. So then you do the math and you say, okay, if we had 100 visitors to our site and we sold a $100 order, how much can we pay? We can pay $13 in advertising or something like that. And then you extrapolate that all out. Well, I'm sure you've researched some of this in some of your classes. But the point I wanted to make here was that you can use these two tools and that unbounce one that I was telling you about, where you can create a page and just kind of test the market to decide if your product is even viable before you start. And so with Real Touch Flower, and I see, oh man, there's only 4 clicks. I was actually really disappointed that there was only 4 people clicking, looking for Real Touch Flowers. And I probably should have done this research before we bought that business, because then I would know that it's not going to sell. But no, I think it will. It still will. It's doing pretty good. But anyway, this if you kind of structure out what you're going to do before you do it, it really works well. So I want to make sure I've got time. Okay, and then the next thing that you want to do is throw up a website. Okay, this is all based on the fact that you want to start an internet business, because that's kind of where I'm targeting. There's lots of things. You can definitely market on the internet for small local businesses as well and everything. But since I only know about internet businesses, that's why I'm talking about that. Sorry. So basically, when I first started, we threw up a website. Like I said, we didn't buy anything of substance, really. We didn't spend more than $100 getting a bank account, those type of things. And you can open up a free website on WordPress.com, or you can and sign up for a free PayPal account. You can get all these things connected to where you can actually make a sale right away. And then you can kind of just decide, okay, this is going to work. And in one weekend, you can do that. And then if it does work, then you just start throwing more money, advertising money at it, and that's really where things start to develop. And then, of course, when you're looking at, you might want to think about a business plan after that if you do see that there's some potential market, and the paperwork that goes along with it. You don't have to file for a state license until you're actually, in business. And so Utah is actually, did you guys know that Utah is the #1 business state in the United States by Forbes magazine? They said, that's crazy. This is the most business-friendly state. You guys could start a business today, be running it out of your apartments. I don't know, is that a little bit too much to ask? But you could start today. Okay, and then the last key advice is what every meme says, what everything you can imagine: buy low, sell high. Just buy stuff at a lower price, sell it at a higher price. And how do you do that? I think that is, those are some of the inside stuff of business. How do I buy an iPad for half of what it's worth and then sell it for what it's worth? And an iPad might be difficult, but anything that you can imagine has suppliers, and you just go directly to the supplier, you send them an email and you say, we're such and such a company, we want to buy this, or we want to buy, and it's as easy as an email these days. Like, I've tried, now that I'm working from home and everything, it's hard to be on the phone, so I've tried to move all of our vendors, all of our suppliers over to email, and I can just, on my phone, I can send orders. People at the warehouse will tell me, okay, we need 7,000 pounds of wheat. So I send an email and it's done. And it's amazing what you can do. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. How would you contact a supplier? Yeah, that's, okay, so I was trying to think of an example of that because I thought that would be really interesting. Okay, so maybe I'll give you an example. There's a company in Linden called Creo Brew. Okay, perfect. Maybe I'll just go to question and answer right now, and we'll start with her question. And she says, how do you kind of get in contact with the supplier and start that relationship? Is that right? Okay. So there's like a company in Linden that's called Creo Brew, and they sell cocoa bean ground up, kind of like coffee, but then you brew the cocoa beans and you can drink. It's like hot chocolate, but it's made from cocoa beans directly, and you just brew it like you would coffee. So I was like, that's a really interesting business model, and I wanted to see if we wanted to carry it on our website, how would I go about doing that? Well, if you go on their website, they have like a contact button, and then they usually have something that says like supplier or distributors, wholesalers, vendors, different keywords like that, and they'll usually have an email directly to their sales department, and you just say, it would be good to have a company name at that point, so that you could say, I'm not just so-and-so who wants to sell what you're selling, but we sell this product. We have this business. We want to sell your product, and can you send us your price list? If you just say, can you send us our price list? That's like a keyword for, and then they just send you everything you need to do to become their vendor. And guess what? The margins are great. Usually, we have a wholesale division that we sell to health food stores. We send them, they say, we want to sell your product. Okay, we send them a spreadsheet of all of our products, what the price is. It's usually 50% less than what you can sell it for. So right there, your margin is built in. You can turn around and sell it. Oh, it's actually 100%, because say you buy it for $25, you can sell it for $50, is kind of what happens in business, is that you can just, that's how generally, there is competitiveness where sometimes people will, go down to where they're not even making money. But usually they won't be in business for very long, because you have, if you were to break down, you have your 100% of your sales, okay, and you break that down, 100% of your funds, you pay 50% for the product. If you're doing a service, it's different, okay, but if you pay 50% for the product, you pay 13% to market it, you pay about 13% to employees, so you've got 26% there, so that leaves you with about 24%, am I right? 24% to run the company, which is like the building and this and that. Ideally, you want to end up with 20% profit, but that's pushing it. I think that 10% profit would be is pretty good, depending on what business you're running. But see how it works is that you have your product, and then you get all your expenses, and then you end up with the profit. So anyway, you want to, when you're, the main thing with suppliers is get that 50% off. You can't sell it otherwise. If you're only getting 10% off, you can't even afford to market it. So, okay, any other questions that anybody has? Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the direction that I would love to go. I would love to grow the actual plants. Right now, we just have a warehouse full of seed, and I would love to. That would be awesome to be able to do that, to grow real flowers. These are, they don't relate to our business at all, the artificial flowers, but they're plants and they're beautiful, and yeah, that's awesome. And her question, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to repeat the question, is that have we looked into growing the wheat around, like with the flowers, and growing the plants and selling the decorations as the plants? Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, yeah, sure.
Wall Street Journal picking you up. How did that happen? Did you make it happen?
It didn't make it. I didn't make it happen that time. Other times we tried PR campaigns, but this time what happened was they just went out and found 5 herb kits that they found on the internet, and they grew them and did an article about it, and ours ended up being the best in the article, and so they kind of featured it. And we didn't do anything, and it was like the Weekend Journal, Wall Street Journal, Weekend Edition or something. So he said, how did we get the Wall Street Journal article? We didn't, a lot of times you'll find that like a PR company will go out and get you articles like that, and that helps a lot. But sometimes you'll just get things like that happen. Yeah. How would you go about getting a PR person to do that? Oh yeah, okay. Yes. How would you get a PR person to write an article about you, or what kind does it cost to get a PR person? That's a very good question. So our PR person that we were just using was $2,000 a month, and they were getting us articles during that month pretty regularly. It was about $2,000 a month. So you just have to do the numbers and say, is that going to, are we going to get enough sales to cover that $2,000 a month? And so that's a full-time kind of person, not actually working at your facility or anything like that. They're out. What they do is they get hundreds of newspaper people every day asking them for articles. We need an article about veganism. This is what happened to us. We need articles about veganism. So she had me write how to raise a vegan baby and all these crazy things to get us out there. And even though that's not what our business is about, the people that we're targeting are wheatgrass kind of healthy people, and so kind of got our name out there. But she would just kind of keep an ear open and say, okay, they need articles about this. Here you go. So, but about $2,000 a month is that. So, any other questions? So I'll just kind of end, if there's no questions, with the giant sequoia. This last summer we went to Yosemite, and that Christmas tree that we cut down could have been this big, because that little tree over there in the corner, we have a growing tree. We sell little kits to grow your own trees, And basically, I got one of those in the mail, a little giant sequoia tree like that. And then if you've ever been there, you can see that person standing by them. They're enormous. They're the biggest trees in the entire world. And you know why they're so nobody's ever cut them down is because they were cutting them down and they found out that they were really brittle and they wouldn't make anything. They couldn't make anything but toothpicks out of them so anyway, the clear cutters didn't touch them anymore. But, and also they're very disease resistant. But basically what I just wanted to convey to you guys is establish your roots now, grow to be this big tree yourself, and whatever business, it doesn't matter what you do in your life, but you will be able to do amazing things if you work on yourself and work on getting those motivations in the correct place, meeting people, and being excited about whatever it is you do. And thank you so much.